You know, we live in a world where Thundercat wins a Grammy. Maybe the world isn't so bad after all, you know? Maybe it isn't. Maybe it isn't. Hey everyone, welcome to my channel. I'm V, and this is Talking Points, the show where I argue about things you didn't know you cared about until you do. I am not awake right now. I took my shower like 30 minutes ago. Before we get into this week's topic, subscribe, hit the bell, like the video, drop a comment, anything really, share it with your friends. It doesn't seem like much for you to do, but it helps me a whole bunch, and I'm gonna keep it $1.50 with you, you know? Seeing those sweet numbers go up, oh boy. It just releases all of the serotonin in my brain, man. All of it. So, yeah. Really appreciate it. I refuse to believe there are still people who don't know what vegans are. I mean, you're watching this on YouTube, so you've probably already come across it. Or you've had a conversation about it with a really passionate yet annoying classmate of yours who really likes animals. Or, you know, like most people, you've been to the supermarket and you saw a thing with a vegan logo on it. Oh, the wind's picking up. Why is there so much wind? I just want to make it clear that if you're vegetarian, pescatarian, whatever, really, this video is not about you. It is specifically about vegans, and if you have ever been thinking about going vegan, I seriously encourage you to watch this video. To go in the same direction, here's a definition of what veganism is. There's no fucking way I'm reading all of that. To simplify it, it's a philosophy and a way of life which has two core principles. No exploitation of animals and no cruelty to animals as much as we can afford to do so. Ooh, principles for lunch. My favorite. But in all honesty, if I tried to eat those principles, I would probably get food poisoning for a few days. Yo! See, the thing is that I'm not blind. There are some great intentions behind those ideas. However, the intention doesn't really count when not only the principle is flawed, but how it's applied also goes against the principle to begin with. You feel me? I highly recommend the video Every Argument Against Veganism by Ed Winters. He puts on a great but really short talk about how veganism, morally speaking, is probably the way to go. But, and there's always a but, it's important to understand that those moral obligations, such as reducing suffering for animals or having the right intention behind your food consumption, is all based on one thing: logic. See, this is the level I wish to operate on, because you can't kill the Hydra unless you make sure its heads can't grow back.
The Hydra of mythology was a massive monster. If you cut off one of its heads, 2 more would grow back in its place. And its teeth had the power to raise skeletons. It lived in the lake of Lerna in the Argolis. We found our Hydra at a shopping mall.
We don't want animals to suffer, because if we inflict pain onto them, we could be in their place and suffer the same way. Because we can, logically, say that we as humans are part of the animal kingdom. There's a possible scenario in which we are in their place, and it's not pretty.
Next thing they'll be breeding us like cattle for food. You gotta tell them. You gotta tell them.
Promise, Tiger, I promise. I'll tell the exchange.
You tell everybody. Listen to me, Hatcher. You gotta tell them. Silent breed is people!
It's a don't do to others what you don't want to be done to you type of scenario. Remember this will be crucial into later arguments. So, here's my perspective on the whole thing. It doesn't matter. See, here's the thing, right? I have nothing to gain from defending veganism, and I don't really have anything to gain from bashing veganism. Yeah, oh, sorry. I can pander to my 62 subscribers. Thank you, by the way. We're trying to reach 100 by the end of the year. Please subscribe. And get my validation internet points and tell you that I'm right and you're wrong for being vegan. Yeah, right. Guess what? If I only cared about pandering to people and being right or wrong all the time, I would just go to Twitter and shelter myself in my echo chamber. But I don't, because I care about truth. Remember, the V stands for verity. If you disagree with me, then argue with me in the comments. At least it's gonna get me some engagement.
Let me ask you something. When you go into a store, does it bother you that they make the security guard just stand there all day?
No.
See, it didn't bother Susan either. That's why I'm different. I can sense the slightest human suffering.
This is by far the easiest point to talk about because it really is blatantly flawed. If we are to believe that humans are animals, which they are, by the way, then that principle of ending cruelty to animals must also be applied to humans as well. Newsflash, buddy, I can count at least 10 people that are just natural embodiments of cruelty, because humans tend to be naturally cruel. So we're already not off to a great start, because we have to go against like our fundamental nature as human beings, but that's just the beginning. The reality is that if we were to gradually transition from animal-based farming to plant-based farming, we would automatically be cruel. Think about it. The dude running his company doesn't necessarily have the infrastructure to farm plants. It's also highly likely that he will not have enough money to transition in time. But let's pretend we can just give them some of that government relief money to help them out or something. Which, by the way, would be cruel to the people who pay their taxes because they don't get to decide where their money is invested. That would still be cruel because we don't get to let the farmer do what he wants. As soon as you block someone from doing whatever they want to do, it is cruel. And because we are animals, if we follow that principle, we can never really end animal cruelty. In response to that, you might say something like, well, V, if we never stopped people from doing the things they wanted to do, we would have never stopped serial killers. The goal is not necessarily to stop cruelty, it's to minimize the cruelty being inflicted. To which I would add, correct? Yeah, absolutely. The goal is to minimize cruelty. Absolutely correct. But first off, I don't want to be a nitpicking prick, but the definition clearly states we must stop exploitation and cruelty to animals as far as is practical and possible. And there is a real easy way to stop animal cruelty and animal exploitation that is both practical and possible. Collective suicide. I wish I was joking. It's very practicable, and I can assure you that it is possible. Trust me on that one. If all animals die, then there can be no more cruelty to animals, because all of the animals are gone. It's so fucking stupid. If you're willing to accept that conclusion, then honestly, good for you, truly. But you're probably being put on some watch list somewhere, because that's really fucked up. Nah, we can't consider minimizing of cruelty the only factor here. It doesn't really make any sense. Like, do we stop serial killers because they are cruel or because they threaten our way of life? At least to me, the latter rings truer. What matters in the end is ditching what is bad and preserving what is good. And I'm not so sure that ditching all animal products is necessarily a good thing. The more ingredients we have, the more things we get to experience in this world, in this extremely limited life that we have. In all honesty, it's probably more about like moderation, about affording what we can. If it's about the environment at the end of the day, and we want to keep our beef production, we need to make it sustainable. That's completely different from eradicating it. Now, I agree that animal slaughter is just overly cruel for no reason other than the ease of process. But staying focused on that doesn't really lead anywhere else other than contradiction or hypothetical extinction. Instead, if we were to apply some sort of sustainable way to this whole cruel process, it would probably lead to a more respectful treatment of the animals while providing them with a sufficiently pleasant experience of reality. And even with that, there's issues, but it's nothing that time and regulations can't fix. So let's just move on.
Perfect.
No shot, you got the Uber Eats. Oh, on God. Wait, come here. Hell yeah, brother. You can just leave, you can drop it there. I'll eat it.
No. Oh, okay, no. No. What the fuck is wrong with vegans, dude? What the fuck do they eat? Do they just keep eating nuts and fruits all day? Jesus fuck, dude.
Shout out to Burger King, dude. That's what's up. Alright, so exploitation. So vegans believe that animals have been exploited through different cultures and societies through time and space. I mean, yeah, I get it. Fair point, you know. Slaughterhouses, breeding houses, all of that shit is pretty damn fucked up if you ask me. You know what? We'll get back to that. Hold on. The thing here is that they believe that exploitation is immoral. And they believe that it is immoral because they believe that animals are ethical subjects, but we use them as a mean to achieve an end, and therefore that stops us from establishing an ethical relationship with them. See, I talked about dignity in my Gucci Mane video, and it's basically the exact same thing here, same notion. We need animals to be included in our codes of conduct, yet we don't give them the dignity necessary to treat them ethically. See, there's a little concept called ontological veganism, which basically pins this whole ordeal on our capitalistic industrial society, which also includes humans. It definitely kind of has like Marxist vibes to it, because it basically concludes that we need to just yeet the whole system and come up with something else in its place. As in, if we wanted to fix society at large, we would have to institute a different type of moral and political ideology, such as communism or socialism. However, this is one of the issues with this fundamental point of veganism. If we are animals just as dogs, cats, and cows, and there should be no exploitation of us, humans can and should never put themselves in relationship with anything, basically. Because the truth is that we're all intrinsically being exploited. We're all intrinsically being oppressed by our reality. Even before we are born, we can never truly be free because we are bound to time and space just like animals are. Even things that might have a positive impact, like helping someone else, is inherently exploitative. They gain currency and you lose some, where the currency in this case is time and potential. They make a profit, they gain something, they have an advantage over you, ergo, they get to exploit you. Which means that even though you abolish all of the exploitation of animals by humans, you can never stop truly the exploitation of all animals, because humans are constantly being exploited not only by themselves but by the reality they inhabit. Well, okay, you might say that I'm totally missing the point here, that the goal is to actually minimize exploitation. Moron. To which I would say, well, animals aren't necessarily being only exploited by us. They are exploited by themselves, the reality they inhabit, just like us, but they're also being exploited by their environment and other animals in the animal kingdom. It's not just limited to us and them. And you know what? I actually have a counter question to this point, which is why? Why are vegans trying to abolish the exploitation of animals? Well, the answer seems quite simple to me. It's because they try to be good people, or at least seem to be. This might be a really hot take, but I don't actually think most vegans are automatically good people. I actually believe that it's a shallow mask that they put for themselves and for society at large. They get to say, well, because I'm helping animals and I want to end their suffering, I'm a good person. And people just absolutely love being the good guy on the right side of history, don't they? I think this is why, at least partly, why people think that vegans are such massive hypocrites, because it's really blatantly obvious that they believe they have the moral high ground when in reality anyone with half a brain can tell that it's all for show. They think they're helping the cause when in reality there's a big difference between doing good and not doing anything bad. The goal of veganism is to stop the suffering of animals. It's not necessarily to make them live a good life, although I'm sure that with their intentions, they might also agree with that point. Letting animals go back to their regular, natural lifestyle is good and all, but what about making it better? What about making them live happy, fulfilled, and prosperous lives? We have the knowledge to do it, and we have the capacity to do it also. There's a whole realm of possibility just waiting for us to explore it. We can maximize their lives such that they get exploited as little as possible by the constraints of our universe. That's something no other animal can do. If you want animals to live a good life, put your money in local farmers, in free-range products, that kind of shit. Get to know the people that you buy products from. Get to know what they do. Your money dictates what is supplied. At least to me, that's the future. That's helping animals. Not only assuring that they can live a natural lifestyle, but maximizing their life on Earth. That's being good to animals. Anyway, yeah, I thought I would give you a piece of my thought on the subject, I'm always open to switching my stance on something, so if you think that I forgot something or that you just plain disagree with me, feel free to drop by the comments section and smash your keyboards while breathing really heavily at your computer screen. New projects coming soon. I'm working on something else, but it's gonna take more time than I thought it would. I'm gonna keep doing talking points until then. I'm probably gonna keep it, going afterwards also, because I really like doing these videos and I like just going outside and pretending like I don't care about anybody else, I think that's pretty interesting. Yeah, also, if you want to have certain subjects covered, you can just drop some recommendations, that type of shit, and I will gladly look into them. On that note, I think that everything that had to be said has already been said, so I think I'm gonna go for now. Alright, so okay, I'll see you next week, alright? Have a good one until then, okay? Alright, peace out.